The US is reportedly facing a munition crisis as the Russia-Ukraine conflict seems to be becoming America's next forever war after Afghanistan. While Ukraine's demand for military aid from US continues, America's supplies are depleting faster than they can be renewed. But why is US unable to meet the demand? Is US holding back resources for a possible clash with Russia or China in future? Has North Korea's recent military drills made US reassess its own safety? I'm Shivan Chanana. Let's get to the point. Let's take a look at some of the military aid US has already sent to Ukraine in its bid to defeat Russia. 8,500 Javelin missiles, which became Ukraine's key counter-offensive. US produces these at a rate of about 1,000 per year and is obviously now running low. The US government placed an order for the missiles in May for $350 million, but it will still be a while before the stockpiles are refilled. Unknown quantity of surface-to-surface unitary warheads used by the 38 US high-mobility artillery rocket systems, 1,400 Stinger anti-aircraft systems, 2,500 precision-guided 155mm artillery rounds, 880,000 NATO standard artillery rounds, or 75% of the total amount delivered by all Western nations. The Pentagon intends to boost production of these shells from the current monthly average of 14,000 to 36,000 within the next 3 years. Now, even if US succeeds in doing so, their annual production will still be less than half of what they've already given to Ukraine over the past 7 months. So let's make it a bit clear. Aid to Ukraine will help US put up a kind of proxy resistance against Russia. Meanwhile, the Taiwan Policy Act of 2022 will enable US to bolster Taiwan's defense capabilities, which again will help US against China. US has also rekindled ties with Pakistan, providing major flood relief and a $450 million military sustainment package for upgrading Pakistan's fleet of F-16 fighter jets. The US has done this with a possible aim to closely monitor Pakistan's neighbor Afghanistan, another country where US has had a fallout. Basically, these deals and transfers serve the twin purposes of waging proxy wars and helping boost the US defense industry. The US defense industry expects to make some big bucks with several export deals in the pipeline. Japan, Australia, South Korea, Singapore. They're all lining up for American-made defense equipment in 2022. But US defense manufacturers are facing major supply chain constraints. COVID-19 and the Ukraine war. They've both caused major disruptions in the supply chains of US defense giants. Let's take Lockheed Martin for instance. The manufacturer of the famed F-35 fighter jets, their sales in 2022 have been lower than expected. They've blamed supply chain challenges for their lackluster performance and anticipate the problems to persist through 2022. Now let's look at Boeing. The risk of shortages includes engines, raw materials and semiconductors, which are all core components for the company. Even leaders at Raytheon, Northrop Grumman and General Dynamics have expressed concerns for the difficulty to secure parts and labor during recent earnings calls. Now, could the munition shortage be one of the reasons why the US did not indefinitely halt its F-35 production lines and actually gave a go-ahead even though Chinese parts were in use, which is a known fact? US, known for its my way or the highway attitude, had earlier threatened Saudi Arabia with consequences for its alleged tie-up with Russia over fuel production cuts. But then they decided to methodically tackle the situation with Saudi Arabia. One of the steps that lawmakers want is a freeze in arms exports to Saudi. But can the Biden administration really afford to do it and hit its own defense industry? So there we have it. If you take a look at the US, It's crippled with munition shortages. It has North Korea's nuclear saber rattling on one side, China on the other, and Russia, which is reinforced with Iranian drones. Is US having to compromise on its resolve to maintain global preeminence? Let us know in the comments.